Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and in this, thank you for joining us live stream. And in this essay, I'd like to talk about this unemployment myth that's going around the entire Western world at the moment. There was an article today in the BBC and in Britain and other news outlets and all around Australia. But it's a story going around the Western world. So we know it's very centrally scripted and so on. So we know it's a globalist scam just from that alone. Whenever you get this downtown central coordinated messaging, and then you know it's across multiple countries and so on. Then you know it's a globalist set of talking points that all the Western governments who are globalist controlled are pushing out there. But the central message is there's a shortage of labour and a shortage of skills in some cases also being claimed. And the only way to solve this is to bring in masses of black and brown peasants. And there's all sorts of insane rhetoric going around that some countries are offering to pay for airfares, cover visa costs and passport costs and all sorts of things. Now, if they're prepared to go to those lengths to bring in people from third world countries that speak very little or no English, that have really no skills at all, and Western companies or businesses are prepared to pay for their passports and visas, pay for their airfares, pay for all sorts of things, then you know it's bullshit, because why would you do that when you've got local workers that could take the job? But in effect, particularly around the hospitality industry and to take out food shops, those sorts of things, there's really an artificial economy that isn't responding to any sort of market forces or market signals. The wages are set as a minimum, and they're controlled, a bit like a communist centrally planned economy. These wages are controlled. They're not responsive in any way to market forces, because if there was a shortage of workers, or as in any marketplace, what you do is you keep on raising the salaries and the pay or the conditions or the conditions. You can improve both until people start applying and wanting the jobs. That's what you do. That's how the market works. Same as if you're trying to sell a product. You make the price attractive, you make the product attractive, make the features and benefits attractive, and so on, until people want to buy it. And that's how the market economy works. So this is what these guys aren't doing. They're saying, the only solution is to bring in black, brown peasants. That's it. There is no other solution. And when you've got an artificial economy that exists purely on the basis of bringing in peasant labour from the third world, then they're stuck in this mindset. That's their business model. They're just stuck in it. So they're not prepared to go out into the market and do what's necessary to get workers. Their only solution is to bring peasants in. Now, any government who's worth a pinch of shit should go, no, screw you. You start offering better wages, and that's how you're going to solve your worker. There's plenty of unemployed or underemployed or minimally employed people in Australia and elsewhere in the West, and they'll be happy to have that job if you pay them. But the way it works is they bring these peasants in, but a lot of them are through labour hire firms overseas. Places like India in particular do well, or through scam labour hire firms in the West, often run by third world people themselves. And it's all very corrupt in these third world places. So they bring these people out and they put them, can be 10, 12 people to a one-bedroom apartment, 20 people to a two-bedroom apartment, and they've got them all. And I've seen these places. They're all got 3 levels of bunk beds, in each room, and there's mattresses on the floor, and you've got barely room to sort of. You got to walk sideways wherever you go, and this is how, so they 20 to a 2-bedroom apartment, and then they charge them a rent for using the apartment. So they bring them out, maybe they pay their fees, then they put them through some bullshit training course where they probably don't get paid. Then they're put up in this 20 to a 2-bedroom apartment. they're given food in the restaurant or the cafe, whatever it is where they work. So, and these are all deducted from their pay. So they get paid the minimum wage, whatever it is here. They get paid the minimum wage, and then often the house keeps all the tips that they get, but they get paid the minimum wage, and then there are deductions from their wage or from their pay based on we're supplying you with accommodation, 20 to a 2-bedroom apartment. We're supplying you with food, whatever the leftover food is or something from the customers. So they're treated like shit, and then this is all deducted from their wages. So in the end, the business may be paying them in essence $5 an hour, in reality less. So then they get a small amount of spending money. But they're pretty much told they can only buy from certain shops, and these shops are also owned by a consortium of corrupt brown and black folks, so they can only spend their money in those shops. So in reality, they're effectively indentured slaves or serfs. But a lot of these people, because there wasn't any work for them, a lot of these people went back to like India or I don't know, Africa or wherever they came from. And so now when things are opening up again post COVID, these owners of these restaurants and cafes and so on want to bring these workers back. Now, another side of it is a lot of the takeout food shops, in particular around like takeout chicken, that sort of stuff. A lot of these are franchised, and they're owned by Indian and offshore investment firms who own these franchises, and they may own 100 franchises just around Sydney alone for takeout chicken or something like that. And so the only way they can make these things profitable and get a return on it is to bring out rural peasants from rural sort of third world countries and stuff them in there with basic or minimal English, or no English in a lot of cases. And like if you listen, so you go into some of these takeout chicken shops and you listen to the language being used in the the cooking area and the preparation area, you won't hear English being spoken. So these peasants are brought out and they can only speak some rural Indian or Chinese dialect or something like that. And they're brought out specially because that's the only way they can make these franchises profitable. Now, if the franchise actually makes a profit because they're using an offshore labour hire firm, there's offshore loans and so on, they just increase an offshore management fee so that soaks up all the profit. So there's no tax paid in Australia. Because all the workers are having all these deductions from their wages, then they get a minimum wage that falls under the taxation threshold. So the workers aren't paying any tax. So Australia or the Western country where it is loses both times. They lose in corporate tax that the business doesn't pay any tax, but also all the workers there fall under the tax threshold, and they don't pay any tax. So Australia loses in every way, or the Western country loses in every way in that regard. Now that there is artificially cheap takeout chicken or whatever, that's artificially cheap, but that's the only benefit that's being delivered. Now, sure, that is a benefit, having a cheap takeout chicken. Well, why not? But when you look at the wider collateral damage of this, that local people can't get jobs, wages are being undercut. There's an entire tranche of the economy that's a fake economy. It doesn't respond or exist within any market conditions at all, and that's not a good thing in an economy that's supposed to be capitalist or primarily capitalist. This is a crony economy, a controlled economy. It's bullshit. Now, just on this idea of a shortage of labour, there's no fucking shortage of labour. That's absolute nonsense. But that's the one that's being peddled and put about. Nor is there any skill shortage. And I've done an earlier video, and there's no skill shortage. What crap? And just to illustrate, I mean, there are shops. Shops are not far from where I live, where there's signs in the door that help wanted, workers wanted, and the way that the sign reads, and those signs have been there for a long time. The way the sign reads, it effectively says if even if you're alive, if you're upright and warm, if you fog up a mirror, if I hold it to your nose, that sort of thing. then walk in and you've got a job. Now I wanted to test that theory, so I'm hardly the classic candidate for a job like that, but and I get that, but the idea is it as bad as they say? Because if it's as bad as they say, they'll take anyone, and they're inferring they'll pretty much take anyone as long as again, as long as you're alive and there's blood in your veins. So I walk in and say, all right, then I'll that sign in the window, I'll take that job, and straight away the manager's sort of looking at me like, well, why do you want this job? What makes you want this? I mean, the guy's looking at me in disbelief. He just can't believe that someone like me is going to walk in and want to do the job. Now, there are a couple of ways of looking at this. That you can say, well, I'm getting a guy who's 10 times more qualified than I normally get, but I'm still only paying the rate of pay that the minimum I'm required to pay, which is, I don't know, $15-16 an hour, whatever it is. So I'm in front. Any owner of a business would say I'm miles in front here. I get all this for the same rate of pay that I'd pay somebody who's borderline retarded or something. So, or intellectually challenged, excuse me, in the modern parlance. So, but instead the guy, no, you'll. You won't last 5 minutes here. I need, and if you read between the lines, and I pretty much figured it would go this way, and nor was I particularly serious, which must have come across, I guess. But this idea is that no, I want somebody who I can treat like shit and shout and scream at. You're not going to put up with that. I can tell by the by the way you stand and the way you walk and the way you talk. You're not going to put up with that. So that's no good to me. The other thing is I need someone who's going to stay. They get fired when they go when I say they go, not when they want to go. Someone like you can get a better job anytime you want. You're not going to stay, and you're not going to put up with any crap. And so I don't want you. I want someone who's effectively, and this is the way the manager explained it. Not so many words. I want someone who's really unemployable. They got nowhere to go, but the job I give them. And they have got to put up with any shit I give them, and they have to stay. Now, that's hardly a free arrangement between people in a meeting in the marketplace. I suppose it is to some extent, but it's not a free arrangement of people meeting in the marketplace. It's where there's a desire on one side to have an artificial surplus of power, if you like, in the interaction, and the other side to have none. Now, how does that play out, though? So I tried another one, which was a petrol gas station, and so there again they've been having signs in their window for forever. So I'm going to put my hand up for that, just again to see what would happen, and talk about a scam here. The way they want to do it is you have to work there for as long as without pay, so no pay. You have to work there for as long as they say, until they say they're satisfied with your performance, and that's you don't get a time limit. Like if you don't cut it after the first 3 days, we'll let you. No. You stay for as long as they say you can stay, and until they say they're prepared to pay you. So how long would that be? I probably should have gone in dressed in clothes with holes in them and maybe drooling out of the side of my mouth or something. Maybe I should have sort of overplayed that side a bit. But the guy was so caught up in his own fucking power trip, he sort of couldn't. He didn't realise he was behaving illegally and doing the wrong thing. They say it's training and orientation and all that sort of crap, but it's so I don't know how long they can get away with that. I mean, maybe they say to brown and black people, how much money have you got? How long could you last without an income? I don't know, 6 weeks or something. Good, you're on 6 weeks probation, buddy, and then wait till they're sort of ground down to their last nickel, and then say, okay, well, I'm going to pay you, but this is the conditions I'll pay you under. So it makes you wonder about what's going on in the background there. But that was it. You stay and work for free until they say they're prepared to pay you. I couldn't fucking believe it. So you can understand why they want people from third world countries that speak hardly any English. because what are they going to do? Where are they going to go? How are they going to complain about anything? Or some of them may be illegal, or maybe they've overstayed their visa. I mean, there's plenty of those around too. Maybe that's what's going on. Maybe they're paid under the table. I mean, but the thing was that if there was a shortage, as the sign in the window suggested, at this gas station, petrol station, there was a shortage, then the guy would go, holy shit, you're upright, you're warm, you speak English, you're fit, you're healthy, wow, I am so lucky that you walked in the door. But instead it was the reverse. It was, no, I'm not sure we can use that. Well, no, I don't know, we can use someone like you really, but so you got to work here for free, and then maybe one day we'll decide to pay you. I mean, it's monstrous, for goodness sakes. But so there is no shortage. There's no shortage of people. There's no shortage of skills. There's just a lot of artificial economies. And again, these petrol stations are franchises. Again, they're owned by offshore money, owned by a lot of Indian, Chinese investment firms. And again, they rely heavily on peasant labour. People that live hand to mouth in their rural farms somewhere in India, and then they bring them out and work, and they're working in like 12-hour shifts here. It's not they're not working 4-hour shifts or something like that. Some of them are getting subsidised college education as well, but then they've got almost no money. So the owners take the money for that as well. Sometimes the colleges they're doing the education that are even owned by the same investment firm that owns the petrol station. So these are things that are going on, and again, there isn't a shortage. There's a shortage of an artificial need in an artificial marketplace to artificially underpay third world peasants. That's what it is. And any Western government should say, no, that's not right from any moral perspective, for goodness sakes. But also it's not right in as much as more and more of the Western economies are becoming detached from the market economy that's meant to be driving it. So on one side, you've got crony capitalism coming in at the top end, and the other side, you've got peasant sort of centrally controlled, well, it's not even capitalism, centrally planned economic activity at the bottom end. And the bit in the middle is getting smaller and smaller. And I think before too many more years, it'll be gone completely, assuming current trends continue. You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.